Men over 60 boost testosterone naturally, no pills required. Now let me ask you something. What if I told you that low testosterone after 60 isn't a life sentence? That you don't need expensive pills, risky injections, or strange online powders to feel like yourself again? In fact, what if the secret to better strength, sharper focus, and yes, more confidence in the bedroom could be sitting in your kitchen right now? For decades, men have been told, it's just aging, deal with it. But as a doctor who's worked with thousands of men over the past 35 years, I can tell you, that's only half true. Sure, testosterone declines with age, but I've seen plenty of men in their late 60s and even 70s with T levels as strong as guys in their 40s. And it wasn't because they had better genes. It's because they knew how to work with their body, not against it. Now, here's the kicker. Some of the foods you've been told are healthy might actually be robbing you of your masculinity. And some surprisingly simple habits could turn things around faster than you think. We're talking about changes that can improve your energy, rebuild muscle, sharpen your mind, and even boost your performance where it matters most. Before we jump in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you more powerful, science-backed tips to live stronger, longer, and better. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the real reasons testosterone drops after 60 and why it's not the same for every man. The hidden enemies in your diet and lifestyle that quietly kill your testosterone. And the exact foods and habits that can help you naturally reclaim your vitality without a single pill. So stay tuned. What you learn today might just change the way you eat, train, and live for the rest of your life. The testosterone decline after 60. What's really going on? When I first started practicing medicine in the 1980s, we knew testosterone declined with age, but we didn't fully understand why. Now, decades of research have made the picture much clearer. Testosterone begins to drop around age 30, roughly 1% each year. And by the time you're 60, you may have lost 30 to 50% of your natural production. The Massachusetts Male Aging Study found that 39% of men over 60 already meet the criteria for clinically low testosterone. This isn't just about sex drive. Testosterone influences muscle strength, bone density, metabolism, mood, and cognitive sharpness. And yet, I've treated men in their late 60s and even 70s whose testosterone levels matched healthy men in their 40s. The difference comes down to 3 changes after 60 that lifestyle can influence. First, the signal from your brain weakens. The hypothalamus, pituitary, and testes communicate through a precise hormonal chain, but after 60, the hypothalamus doesn't send as strong a call to produce testosterone. Poor sleep makes this worse. A University of Chicago study showed just 1 week of sleeping 5 hours a night cut testosterone by 10 to 15% in healthy young men. Imagine that impact over years. Second, the factory floor slows down. Even with a strong signal, the Leydig cells in your testes become less responsive with age, sometimes losing 40% of their function. But this slowdown isn't fixed. Research shows older men who exercise regularly maintain 20 to 25% higher testosterone than sedentary men with the same brain signals. Strength training, resistance work, and staying physically challenged keep those cells producing. Third, the competition increases. Belly fat produces an enzyme called aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. Some estrogen is healthy, but too much robs you of usable testosterone. Men with larger waistlines can have double the aromatase activity, meaning more T is lost before your body can use it. That stubborn belly fat isn't just cosmetic. It's a hormone factory working against you. The good news? None of these changes are completely out of your control. How you sleep, move, eat, and manage your weight determines whether your testosterone stays strong into your later years or fades too quickly. Biology sets the stage, but your daily choices decide how the play ends. The hidden enemies, foods, and habits that kill testosterone. When men over 60 feel tired, foggy, or less motivated, they often blame age or bad luck. But in truth, much of it comes down to silent testosterone killers, things you do every day without realizing they're sabotaging you. Here are the 5 worst offenders. Number 1, processed sugar. Processed sugar is one of the quickest ways to undermine testosterone. The moment you eat it, whether from soda, candy, pastries, or even healthy, flavored yogurts, your blood sugar spikes, triggering a surge of insulin. High insulin tells your body to store fat, especially around the belly, and belly fat produces aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. More fat means more conversion and less usable testosterone. A 2018 study found that men who consumed a high-sugar meal had testosterone levels drop by an average of 25% within just 2 hours. Another study from the University of Sydney showed that men with consistently high sugar intake had significantly lower total and free testosterone, regardless of age or exercise. I saw this with Robert, a 66-year-old patient who lifted weights regularly but struggled with belly fat and afternoon crashes. His healthy cereal and granola bars were loaded with hidden sugars. Once he switched to steel-cut oats with berries for breakfast and almonds for a snack, he lost 4 inches from his waist in 3 months, and his testosterone rose by nearly 18% without supplements. If you're battling low energy or stubborn fat, have you considered how much sugar, hidden and obvious, you're eating each day? Cutting added sugar to under 25 grams daily, swapping sweetened drinks for water, and choosing whole fruits over desserts is one of the fastest ways to protect your testosterone and your overall health. Number 2, alcohol, especially beer. Beer contains hops, which are rich in phytoestrogens, plant compounds that mimic estrogen in the body and can throw off your hormonal balance. Over time, regular heavy drinking has been linked to smaller testicular volume, reduced Leydig cell function, and lower testosterone production. Research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that men who consumed more than 20 alcoholic drinks a week had testosterone levels up to 23% lower than light drinkers. And another study showed that even moderate alcohol before bed can blunt the body's natural nighttime testosterone surge by disrupting REM sleep. I once treated Frank, a 62-year-old who complained of fatigue, muscle loss, and low libido. He didn't think his nightly six-pack was a problem, but his blood work told a different story: low testosterone and elevated estrogen. After replacing his beers with sparkling water and lime, he lost 12 pounds, trimmed 3 inches off his waist, and brought his testosterone back into a healthy range within 4 months. If your energy, strength, or drive has been slipping, it's worth asking yourself whether alcohol, especially beer, is quietly holding you back. Cutting back to just a few drinks a week or switching to non-alcoholic options can be a simple but powerful step toward restoring balance. Number 3, excessive processed carbs. White bread, pasta, chips, and pastries may be comforting, but for men over 60, they can quietly undermine testosterone. These refined carbs break down quickly into glucose, spiking blood sugar and triggering a surge of insulin. Frequent spikes promote belly fat storage, and that extra fat produces aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. High glycemic foods also fuel chronic inflammation, which disrupts the hormonal signals between the brain and testes. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that men with diets high in refined carbs had significantly lower total and free testosterone than those eating mostly whole, unprocessed carbs, even with the same calorie intake. Another study in nutrients showed that replacing refined carbs with whole grains improved insulin sensitivity and increased testosterone within 12 weeks. I recall Jim, a 68-year-old retiree who thought he ate only a little bread and pasta each day, but his breakfast toast, lunch sandwich, and evening pasta kept his blood sugar swinging. He was tired after meals, carried most of his weight in his midsection, and his testosterone was low normal. After switching to sprouted grain bread, quinoa, and roasted chickpeas, he lost 10 pounds, regained steady energy, and raised his testosterone by 15% in 3 months. If your energy crashes after meals or your waistline keeps expanding, it may be time to take a hard look at your carb choices and favor slow-digesting, nutrient-rich options instead. Number 4, low-protein diets. A low-protein diet can quietly drain testosterone in older men because protein isn't just for building muscle. It supplies the amino acids needed to create enzymes and hormones, including testosterone. Without enough, your body struggles to maintain lean mass, repair muscle tissue, and keep hormone production efficient. Research in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that older men consuming at least 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight had higher testosterone and better muscle retention than those eating less than 0.8 grams. Another study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that boosting protein intake in men over 60 improved both lean body mass and testosterone within 6 months, even without extra exercise. I recall Leonard, a 70-year-old who ate light meals, toast for breakfast, a small salad for lunch, and pasta for dinner, averaging less than 50 grams of protein a day. He felt weak, tired, and unmotivated. After adding eggs to breakfast, chicken or fish to lunch, and Greek yogurt as a snack, his energy returned, his strength improved, and his testosterone rose 14% in 4 months. If you've noticed muscle loss or low energy despite being active, increasing high-quality protein from sources like eggs, fish, poultry, lean beef, or plant-based options may be one of the simplest ways to keep testosterone strong. Number 5. Chronic stress and poor sleep. Chronic stress keeps cortisol levels high, and elevated cortisol directly blocks the brain's signal to produce testosterone, diverting resources away from hormone production. Over time, this can drain energy, weaken muscles, and lower drive. Poor sleep compounds the problem since testosterone production peaks during deep sleep. Getting less than 6 hours a night for just 1 week can drop levels by 10–15%. And research from the University of Chicago found that healthy young men restricted to 5 hours of sleep had testosterone similar to men 10–15 years older. I think of Alan, a 65-year-old consultant constantly on call for clients, who was stressed, sleeping poorly, and showing well below average testosterone. After creating a nightly wind-down routine, shutting off screens an hour before bed, and practicing breathing exercises, he began sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night. 3 months later, his testosterone had risen 17%, his belly fat was shrinking, and he felt clear-headed for the first time in years. If your days are a non-stop sprint and your nights are short, making stress relief and quality sleep a priority may be the simplest way to reclaim both energy and testosterone. The testosterone-boosting blueprint, foods that work. Here's where we flip the script. Food isn't just fuel, it's raw material for testosterone production. Your body needs certain nutrients to make testosterone: zinc, vitamin D, magnesium, selenium, and healthy fats. Without them, your testosterone factory slows down. Let's go through 10 powerful foods, all backed by research, plus how to use them. Number 1. Oysters, the zinc king. Zinc is essential for testosterone production, and oysters are the richest natural source. This mineral acts as a cofactor in the process that converts cholesterol into testosterone, and even mild zinc deficiency can drop levels by 20–30%. The risk of deficiency rises with age due to reduced absorption and certain medications like diuretics or acid reducers. Research in nutrition found that men with low zinc intake for just 20 weeks saw significant declines in testosterone, while supplementation in older men nearly doubled their levels within 6 months. Another study from Wayne State University showed that restoring zinc improved not only testosterone, but also sperm quality and immune function. I recall Mark, a 64-year-old who avoided shellfish and rarely ate red meat, coming to me with fatigue and low motivation. His zinc levels were well below normal, so we added oysters twice a week along with other zinc-rich foods like pumpkin seeds and lean beef. 4 months later, his testosterone was up 22%, his energy returned, and he said he felt like someone turned the lights back on. If you've been dragging, struggling to recover from workouts, or noticing less drive, adding zinc-rich foods, especially oysters, just once or twice a week can provide the raw material your body needs to keep testosterone strong. Number 2. Eggs, complete protein and healthy fat. Whole eggs, including the yolk, are one of the best foods for supporting testosterone because they provide complete protein and healthy fats, including cholesterol, the building block your body uses to make testosterone. The yolk also contains vitamin D, selenium, and choline, all important for hormone regulation. Despite their past bad reputation, research shows that cholesterol from whole eggs does not significantly raise blood cholesterol for most people and can actually support hormone health. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that men with higher dietary cholesterol from whole foods had higher total and free testosterone, while research from the University of Connecticut showed that eating 3 whole eggs daily improved HDL and testosterone markers. I remember Steve, 61, who had eaten only egg whites for years and came to me with low energy and poor workout recovery. His diet lacked healthy fats and his testosterone was low normal. We reintroduced 2 whole eggs at breakfast and 1 after workouts, along with vegetables cooked in olive oil. In 8 weeks, his testosterone rose 12%, his recovery improved, and his mornings felt energized again. If you've been skipping yolks, adding a couple of whole eggs to your day may give your body exactly what it needs to keep testosterone strong. Number 3. Salmon, vitamin D, and omega-3s. Salmon provides 2 key nutrients for testosterone health: vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids. Vitamin D acts like a hormone, binding to receptors in the testes and triggering enzymes that drive testosterone production, and low levels are strongly linked to low T. A study in hormone and metabolic research found that men supplementing with vitamin D for a year increased testosterone by more than 20% compared to no change in a placebo group. Omega-3s reduce inflammation, improving hormonal signaling between the brain and testes, and supporting healthy blood flow. Research in andrology showed that men with higher omega-3 intake had better testicular function and higher free testosterone. Paul, a 67-year-old retired engineer, had avoided fish for years and spent little time outdoors, leading to low vitamin D and low testosterone. After adding wild-caught salmon to his dinner twice a week and taking short daily walks in the morning sun, his vitamin D normalized, testosterone rose 15%, and his energy, joint comfort, and mental clarity all improved. If you rarely eat fatty fish or get sun exposure, including salmon a couple of times a week can be a simple way to boost testosterone while supporting heart, brain, and joint health. Number 4. Pumpkin seeds, magnesium boost. Pumpkin seeds are a rich source of magnesium, a mineral essential for muscle function, energy production, and testosterone synthesis. Magnesium supports the enzymes involved in hormone creation and helps testosterone bind to carrier proteins, keeping more of it active in the body. Research in the Journal of Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Analysis found that men with higher magnesium levels had significantly higher total and free testosterone, particularly when combined with regular exercise. Another study in biological trace element research showed that just 4 weeks of magnesium supplementation increased testosterone in both active and sedentary men, with the largest gains in those who exercised. Walter, a 70-year-old patient of mine, had been battling muscle cramps, fatigue, and declining strength. His magnesium was low, so we added a daily handful of pumpkin seeds along with more leafy greens and nuts. Within 2 months, his cramps disappeared, his workouts felt easier, and his testosterone rose nearly 10%. If you've been noticing muscle weakness, tightness, or low energy, a small daily serving of pumpkin seeds can be an easy way to support testosterone while boosting overall health. Number 5. Pomegranate, the blood flow fruit. Pomegranate is rich in antioxidants, especially polyphenols that protect nitric oxide and help blood vessels relax, improving circulation and supporting testosterone production. A 2012 study from Queen Margaret University found that drinking pure pomegranate juice daily boosted testosterone by 24% in just 2 weeks. Better blood flow also benefits erectile function, with research in the International Journal of Impotence Research showing improvements in men with mild to moderate ED after regular pomegranate consumption. Harold, a 66-year-old patient with borderline low testosterone and concerns about heart health, added a small glass of pure pomegranate juice to his breakfast each day. 6 weeks later, his blood pressure had improved. His testosterone was up 15%, and he reported better stamina both during walks and in the bedroom. Choosing pure juice without added sugar or eating fresh seeds can be a simple, natural way to support vascular health and keep testosterone strong. Number 6. Beef liver nutrient density. Beef liver is one of the most nutrient-dense foods available, packed with vitamin A, vitamin B12, zinc, and iron, nutrients essential for energy, muscle health, and testosterone production. Vitamin A supports testicular function and hormone regulation. B12 aids red blood cell formation and energy metabolism. Zinc is directly involved in testosterone synthesis, and iron ensures oxygen delivery to muscles for optimal performance and recovery. Research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism links deficiencies in vitamin A and zinc to lower testosterone and impaired reproductive health in men. Daniel, a 63-year-old patient, came to me constantly fatigued with low B12, marginal zinc, and testosterone on the lower end. Adding a small serving of grass-fed beef liver once a week, along with other nutrient-rich foods, restored his energy, normalized his hemoglobin, and increased testosterone by 12% in just 2 months. Including beef liver once or twice a week can be an efficient way to replenish key nutrients that keep testosterone and vitality strong. Number 7. Brazil nuts, selenium powerhouse. Brazil nuts are one of the richest natural sources of selenium, a mineral essential for testosterone production and testicular health. Selenium supports sperm creation, protects testicular tissue from oxidative stress, and helps regulate the enzymes involved in hormone synthesis. Just 2 to 3 nuts can meet your daily selenium needs. Research in the Journal of Urology found that men with adequate selenium had higher testosterone and better sperm quality, while a study in biological trace element research showed supplementation improved testosterone and sperm motility in men with low fertility. Carl, a 68-year-old patient, had low selenium and symptoms of declining energy and libido. After adding 2 Brazil nuts to his daily snack, his testosterone rose 14% in 3 months, and he reported better mood, stamina, and sexual health. Because selenium is potent, more isn't better. Just a small daily serving can help keep testosterone strong and reproductive health in top shape. Number 8. Spinach, magnesium and nitrate. Spinach is rich in magnesium, which supports testosterone synthesis, and natural nitrates, which relax blood vessels, improve circulation, and enhance muscle oxygenation. Magnesium helps keep testosterone bioavailable, while nitrates boost nitric oxide, improving blood flow to muscles and reproductive organs. A study in the Journal of Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Analysis found that higher magnesium intake was linked to increased testosterone, especially in active men. And research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that nitrate-rich vegetables like spinach improve endurance and muscle efficiency. George, a 65-year-old cyclist, struggled with fatigue and slow recovery until we added a daily spinach salad with olive oil and lemon juice to improve nutrient absorption. 6 weeks later, his endurance improved, soreness decreased, and testosterone rose nearly 10%. Whether in salads, smoothies, or sautéed, spinach offers an easy way to support testosterone, circulation, and performance. Number 9. Avocado monounsaturated fat source. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the healthy fats your body uses to produce hormones like testosterone. Research in the Journal of Steroid Biochemistry shows that men who consume more monounsaturated and saturated fats tend to have higher testosterone than those on low-fat diets. Avocados also provide vitamin E, potassium, and folate, which support heart health, improve circulation, and help deliver hormones efficiently. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that diets high in healthy fats improved testosterone levels and reduced inflammation, creating a better environment for hormone production. Thomas, a 66-year-old patient, had been on a very low-fat diet for years and came to me feeling sluggish with poor muscle recovery and low testosterone. We added half an avocado to his breakfast and included other healthy fats like olive oil and nuts. 3 months later, his testosterone rose 13%, his energy improved, and his gym performance rebounded. Adding avocado to salads, smoothies, or alongside eggs is a simple way to keep testosterone strong and vitality high. Number 10. Tuna lean protein and vitamin D. Tuna delivers lean, high-quality protein to maintain muscle mass and vitamin D to support testosterone production. Protein provides the amino acids needed for muscle repair and metabolic health, while vitamin D binds to receptors in the testes and activates enzymes essential for hormone synthesis. Research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism shows that men with adequate vitamin D have significantly higher testosterone, and a study in nutrition found that eating fish rich in vitamin D like tuna is linked to better hormone profiles and slower age-related decline. Robert, a 64-year-old patient with low vitamin D and waning strength, began eating tuna 2 to 3 times a week and getting short daily sun exposure. Within 2 months, his vitamin D normalized, testosterone rose 11%, and his endurance improved. Fresh tuna, canned in water or lightly grilled, can be an easy addition to your diet. Just rotate with other vitamin D sources like salmon, eggs, or fortified dairy to limit mercury exposure while keeping hormone health strong. Lifestyle multipliers, beyond the plate. Food alone can boost testosterone, but pairing it with the right lifestyle choices multiplies the benefits. Resistance training is one of the most effective ways to stimulate production. Big compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, and push-ups send a strong signal to build muscle and release more testosterone, and studies show even 2 sessions a week can make a difference. Quality sleep is just as important. Research from the University of Chicago found that sleeping fewer than 5 hours a night for a week dropped testosterone to levels seen in men 10 years older. So aim for 7-9 hours in a cool, dark, screen-free environment. Managing stress keeps cortisol from suppressing testosterone, and just 10 minutes of daily deep breathing, meditation, or a quiet walk can significantly lower it. Maintaining a healthy weight is critical. Since belly fat converts testosterone to estrogen, losing just 10% of body weight can raise testosterone by up to 15%, according to the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. Finally, staying socially and mentally engaged helps keep hormones balanced. Research shows that strong relationships and mental stimulation are linked to higher testosterone and better stress resilience. Combined with a nutrient-rich diet, these habits create the ideal environment for sustaining energy, strength, and vitality. So there you have it, Boosting testosterone after 60 isn't about chasing miracle pills or giving in to age. It's about knowing the silent enemies that drain your energy, fueling your body with the right foods, and stacking simple lifestyle habits that make all the difference. We've covered a lot today: how your body changes after 60, which foods to avoid, the powerful nutrients that support healthy testosterone, and the lifestyle upgrades that multiply your results. Remember, small, consistent changes beat big, short-lived efforts every single time. If you take just one thing from this video, let it be this: your vitality is not gone. It's waiting for you to reclaim it. You have more control over your testosterone, your strength, and your confidence than you might think. Thank you for watching and for taking your health seriously. If you found this helpful, please like this video, share it with a friend who could use this information, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. In our next video, we'll dive into simple daily routines that not only boost testosterone, but also keep your heart, brain, and joints in peak shape well into your 70s and beyond. Until then, stay strong, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video.